Good morning. Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Ian. Wait till I hear my voice, make sure I am live. There I am. How are you guys this morning? Hang on a minute. For some reason, my eyes started watering terribly. Just all of a sudden. And of course, rubbing it doesn't usually help any, considering there's no telling what I've already got on my hands this morning, as in oil and coffee and soap and beard dressing. Well, you take your time, Ian, because right now it's just me and you and Carol. So if it stays like last week, we may be it. Boy, did I find some really good training videos for you, Ian. I found a good one all about tools the other day, and I thought, man, I need this for Ian. I probably couldn't find it again. I didn't save it. And I'm not having a good morning, guys. I already just about dumped that coffee right in my lap. Why am I so why do I seem to be so big? I seem like I'm almost feels like my camera has gone from wide angle to telephoto or something, which I don't think it can. Hey John, good morning, buddy. Out cleaning fish or cleaning house or something. Last training video. If only you could take a nap. I just picked up on that, Ian. Watching I learned there are different types of fire extinguishers. Well, in this particular video, you learned all about the different kinds of hammers, ball peens, claw hammers, ball peen hammers. There was another one they had, and I don't remember what it was. Maybe sledgehammers. Hey, Pumpkin Shelby, welcome in. Good of you to join us this morning. Sorry, I can't speak. If you're new to the channel, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I can handle it. And think about subscribing. I'm a channel that's on the slow growth plan, and I can always use one more. Well, I thought you were new. How are you? What part of the country are you from? Or perhaps you're from a different country. I was just watching This Our Dream and Batu and Disney World. Maybe you're from another planet. We accept all viewers. Already I'm subbed up for Monarch Mom. Oh, okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I miss those old Monarch Moments videos. Those guys trying to cook were a hoot. And once in a while, Michelle from Monarch Moments comes into the chat. Let's see, I asked a question on it in Louisville, Kentucky. You're from there and now you live in Florida. Bless your heart. Been through Louisville a few times. And says, "Oh, are they not around?" Well, I don't know if they've definitely changed. Some things have changed. The family dynamic has changed. Let's say. Couldn't see my comments for a minute. Hang on a minute. But they don't. I don't think they do. I haven't seen them do a show in a while, so I'm pretty sure that there's no, nighttime shows or Friday night shows or anything going on. Like I said, their family dynamics have. I don't know, Carol. Is that a polite way to say that? Have changed? Yeah, Ian's from that Colorado country. John Denver liked to sing about. Oh, and speaking of the co-host, I'll wait a few minutes to see if anybody else is going to come in. We'll talk about him in a minute. I have an update. I miss him. I know that. Sitting here talking to myself for the show, and I had again. I kind of like last week. I had a show all planned out, and I honestly didn't know that he wouldn't be here till I guess Thursday. What is it? Oh, actually, I didn't know till yesterday morning or late Thursday night, and so I had a show planned for he and I to do, and I found myself once again kind of juggling air, trying to figure out what to do today. So I'm a little bit discombobulated. Oh, cleaning dishes here. I thought you were cleaning fish, John. All right, guys, hang on a minute. I've broken a fingernail. I don't like to have broken fingernails. Once I've realized it's broken, I'll just sit and catch it on everything I touch all day long. Or at least that's how it feels. And I don't know if right now that hasn't been too bad. Every once in a while, I go through a phase where it seems like my fingernails are real fragile. Probably a reason for that, isn't there? Probably it could be a nutritional thing, although I don't make it sound like Brenda's not feeding me well or anything. You did fish this morning, but nothing much. Well, it sounds like you've been having some pretty good runs of late. Hey, what? I think I'll wait till about 20 after, and then I'll tell you guys what's going on with my co-host, and we'll go from there. I do most of the house chores since I'm retired. My wife still works. I don't mind it. Gotcha, John. I can understand and appreciate that. Mark, I think Mark could too. He's sort of in that same boat. He cooks a lot of dinner. among other things. I'm going to bring back the Tennessee Bear Cup. I need to have these. I need to do another one of these and get it, because I forgot that somehow or another I didn't get the Saturday Morning Shine put on there. So, Carol, how's the things going in Michigan? What did I just hear about Michigan? Was it snow? Did I hear there was supposed to be snow up that way? Maybe someone said last night or night before last in chat that they were expecting snow up that way, and we had snow. I don't, because I've been a little off kilter the last couple of weekends. I'm not sure if this happened, but I think it's happened after last Saturday. We had snow, and I got proof of it just in a moment. And it got really cold one day. I don't know if I told you guys this. It was down to 18. Cold for here. It just really surprised me. I didn't realize it was coming. It's getting ready to be in hospital for the next 6 months up there. No snow in Colorado. None, not even a whisper of snow, huh? So, John, if you're not doing dishes, or when you come back, perhaps, what's biting right now? What's running? Is this just striper fishing, or um, are there blues run? I don't remember when these things happen. I used to know a few of them, but I mean, are blues running this time of year, or is that I don't know why, but I was always thinking those were like cool weather months of the year when they were running, nasty weather kind of times of the year. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Probably am wrong about that, actually. I haven't been to the coast in so long, especially not to go fishing. I don't know. Mark's probably mentioned it before, but he and his wife for a honeymoon, they went to the east. They went to the Carolina coast and had a. I know they had a. They've got a canoe, a fishing canoe or kayak or canoe or something, and they took that with them, maybe two of them, and they were fishing the waterways and the inland areas, stripers. But we have been getting herring and shad in the surf right now. Oh, okay. Now, when you say you're getting herring and shad, is that you referring to that as a bait fish, so something else that brings something else in? Or are these big enough to catch herring and shad? I don't know how big herring get. I know some shad can get decent size, not striper size. I don't think, but. And John, I don't know if I don't know how much you freshwater fish, but there's some of the rivers up there, up of course, it's the other side of the state for you, but Chesapeake Bay area, and aren't there's shad that run up in at certain times of the year and then run up river. Yeah, I got you. A good friend of mine, former coworker, Dave, that was on the show a few weeks back. Um, he's been posting on Facebook this week. I don't know who all went, but he's been somewhere down in the. I don't know if he's been along the Gulf, somewhere off Florida or down in the Bahamas, maybe Jamaica, somewhere down in there, bone fishing. John, and evidently and caught a few. I don't know how good they did, but he posted several pictures of bonefish or different fish. Of course, that may mean he caught one a day. It could mean he caught three in one day. I don't know. He may have up the Delaware River. The with bonefish, you hunt them almost as much as you fish for them, and you're always watching for them to tail up and drop that crab fly or crab lure in there on the bottom right in front of them. Man, I'd love to catch one of those guys on a fly rod though. They fight really, really hard. Well, or so I've always heard. That's always been one of those fly fishing dream destinations for some people. Going somewhere where you can bonefish, permit, a couple other fish that I know people that go fly fishing for, and you find this big areas of shallow flats in what looks like the middle of the ocean. Hey, Dave, welcome back in, buddy. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, we're talking fish stories just for a minute. You caught many bones, great fighting fish on a fly rod. Cool, John. Where did you fish for them at? Hang on. Well, while you're doing that, let me pull Dave's Facebook up. Um, Here they are. Let's see. I tell you what, I'm going to pull this over here and I'll post this. John, bear with me, guys. I can't see the screen entirely, but since we're talking fishing, I'm going to show that. These are off Dave's face. Uh, another Dave friend of mine, Facebook page, and this is one of the. I think this is one of the last ones he caught. Of course, he could be cheating on us holding it way out in front of him. That looks like a pretty good fish. And I can't hide the chat. I don't think it matters, but there we go. Anyway, let's see. He's got two or three pictures of it, I think, or of fishing. Revolution. Revelation Alley. You got me, Ian. Did I say that? Oh, Lower Blue Islamorada. I don't know if that's where they are or not. Now I'm going to have to back this up so I can read where they're at. Maybe it says. Well, let's look at another picture too. There's another one. And I don't know if that guy's a guide. I don't recognize him as someone I know. Doesn't mean Dave doesn't know him. That's a pretty good fish. I don't know if it was cool wind down there, if Dave's just trying to keep from getting sunburned. TNT sticks and dynamite. There's a joke that goes around down here about that, Dave. Yeah, there goes a bunch of motorcycle guys. They're killing me. Anyway, up granddaughters or granddaughter, I think. Um. Anyway, they've been doing that. That's a thing, John. That happened recently with my old buddy Dave. You don't know a revelation. Oh, you're making up words. Well, no, that's okay. That's okay, Ian. Okay, so I said I'd wait till about 10:20, so it's 10:23. Um, as you most of you know, realize I'm here by myself. Mark is sick, and last week he'd sent me a note and said he was violently ill, and apparently he's had a really bad stomach virus that maybe they can't seem to get under control. Don't know all the details. I'm going to say that for him because I've not been able to really talk to anybody yet. And he had a fall, and apparently in this fall he hurt himself, and hurt himself bad enough that he's in the hospital. I don't know much more about it beyond that. I spoke to him yesterday for a few minutes, and I'll be honest with you, he wasn't entirely coherent. I'm thinking that maybe they had him on some extra good meds. Um, but I did talk to his daughter just a little bit in the evening, and I'm hoping to get a call from Shauna, his wife, and to get a little more details. But apparently, he was what he told me on the phone was, if you, I don't know how many of you guys use step ladders, you put up lights or you clean out your gutters or whatever, but on most step ladders, there's a step that says, do not go above this step or do not stand on this step, which I always wondered if they don't want to stand on it, why'd they put it on there? But anyway, um, and apparently he said he was on that step. And now he knows why they say that because he apparently fell and hurt himself. So that's, again, he said that on the phone yesterday, but the I didn't get the impression that he was 100% coherent. So I'm hoping to talk to him today or tomorrow and when he's a little more lucid and just see how he's doing. I will keep you guys posted. Um, it's killing me because apparently, what was that? Apparently, this happened a few days ago, and I didn't know anything about it. The stomach issue and the fall were apparently two unrelated things, but happened together somehow. And if I understood him correctly, I'm almost under the impression that, it sounded to me like they're still trying to get his stomach issue straightened out, but um, I got the feeling it's what he's really in there for is whatever happened when he fell down, and because he's doing some PT. He did say yesterday that he had just come back to his room after doing his first visit in the physical therapy realm, and I said, I laughed because I thought that was fun. Now, what I didn't get to do yesterday, but I'm going to be doing as soon as as soon as I get a chance, is I'm going to tell him once I know he's okay. As I'm going to tell him that, and ask him where the video is. Because if you guys remember, when I jumped my lawnmower off the back porch up here and had my big crash, as soon as he knew I wasn't going to die, he was the funniest thing he could think of. Well, besides Yellow Jackets, was whether or not anybody Brenda happened to catch it on video so we could post it and let everybody laugh and see what happened. So I'm going to ask him if he got video of this because I'd sure like to see it and laugh about it. Yeah, it's a bummer, Ian, and thanks everybody. I'm sure that he will appreciate any well wishes that you guys send up his way in whatever fashion you choose to do so. Um, I'm kind of upset. Honestly, I'm a little bit off my it. Give me a minute. It's very disturbing for me because I'm so close to the guy, and I didn't know anything about it, and I let him sit maybe in the hospital for several days, and I didn't even call or check on him because I didn't know that he was ill, and I hadn't called him because I figured he'd call me when he felt better. Last week he said he was sick, and I didn't want to bug him about that. I figured he'd let me know. So, but somewhere along, I guess it was Wednesday or Thursday, I sent a note and asked him, hey, how are you doing? I'm a little bit worried. Didn't hear anything until yesterday. And Thursday night, sometime I got a note. His daughter said that he was sick and hadn't been able to talk. And that's pretty much all she said. And then the next day, my phone rang. Yesterday, my phone rang. And lo and behold, it was Mark. And I got to talk to him for just a little bit. And this is, it's probably the most scattered conversation I've ever had with the man. He wasn't, he wasn't totally lucid. He sounded like he'd hurt his shoulders because he was talking like his shoulders were really bothering him. So I don't know. Good morning, Amy. Welcome into the chat. I was just explaining where my co-host was, and I don't know when he'll be back. I hope it's real soon. If he's not back soon, I'm gonna have to come up with a whole different show format. the And I'm Uncas Bear in his honor this morning. I'm trying to be or Uncas Bear. I think I don't know if that's the right possessive version of Uncas or not. Anyway, and I don't know a whole lot more. It's I have to confess, Mark and I go way way back. I mean, he was still a kid when I first met him and his dad. He was probably in middle school, and because there's a few years difference in our age, not a whole lot, but a little bit, but his current wife, his new wife or newer wife, whatever, Shauna, and we don't know each other very well. And I've only spent a little bit of time at their house and visiting and talking. I mean, and she knows we're, at least I think she really knows how close we are. But at the same time, it may not. I'll be honest, it may not have hit, just exactly, because it sounded to me like there had been a little bit of concern when they realized he. And I don't know if anybody was there when he fell. Well, his daughter was probably there, but she could have been down at the river. She could have been out on a walkabout around the ranch or the property. I mean, it's hard to say. So he could have been there by himself and could have laid there on the floor for a little while, for all I know. I mean, that's what happened when I had my accident. Nobody knew that. I couldn't find out the guy across the road had seen something, knew something had happened, and he did come looking to find out. But Brenda didn't know; she was in the house, and I was laid up here on the hill, kind of between the library building and the lawnmower shed barn. So I mean, I wasn't that visible. And if I hadn't had my phone in my pocket and hadn't finally been able to scratch it out and hit the button to call Brenda, I could have laid there. I could have laid there and died. I mean, I don't know. Good morning, Gloria. Welcome in. Thanks for hitting our button this morning. I appreciate you stopping by. So anyway, so I'm a little disturbed. I'm not disturbed, not upset at anybody. I'm just It bothers me. I love the guy to death. And like I said, he and I go way, way back. We've always been considered each other brothers. And once we started becoming friends more, he and I, he and his dad and I were the first. That's how I met them all. His dad and a friend of his had a small little bitty shop in Jonestown, Jonesboro, where they sold muzzle loading rifle parts and accoutrements and um, handmade leather goods and historical reenactment type gear. And his dad is a master gunsmith, and so is he actually. Well, not on modern guns for Mark. His dad used to be. Anyway, but then Mark and I started hunting and fishing together and traveling together a little bit, and that kind of changed everything. And we grew really, really close, and have spent some really shining times together. But anyway, it's so bear with me a little bit, and we'll get through. I'll get through it. So anyway, I may be looking for a temporary co-host. Well, or coming up with a slightly different format where I'm not depending on the show that I had prepared last week and had hoped to do this week is one that he and I wanted to do. He wanted to do, so I'm saving it with the hopes that when he gets back, we'll be able to do it. And so I got to come up with something else. But I didn't have time yesterday to really put together anything really good. And on top of that, I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. Thinking of you. Well, I appreciate that, Ian. You know, he will be illegally watching Looney Tunes at no time. I'm sure we will. And you know, I don't know. He may be home in a couple of days. He may be home. Like I said, I didn't get to have a really good conversation with him yesterday. He was not totally lucid. At least he didn't seem like it. He didn't. He was Mark. You know, like I say, Mark was in there, but you know, I don't know. And the other thing that was going on yesterday was I could hear a lot of conversation in the background, and I think the doctors were kind of in and out. As Shauna was there, I don't know if Caitlin, his daughter, was there in the room or if she was on the phone with Shauna. I don't know, but there was a lot of conversation going to seem to be going on in the background. So when I finally told him, I said, "Well, let me let you go and you talk to the doctors and go from there." So hopefully I'll know some more today. And John, I don't know if it'll happen, but I did send a note yesterday evening after you told me about going fishing yesterday. I don't remember where we ran into each other, but somebody's chat. Sorry, guys, my eyes are still watering. I'm not crying. You're crying. If there's a possibility he might. I'm hoping to get a message from his daughter. I don't know if this will happen, but if he feels like it, they might try to sign on to the show. And I thought if they did, you could say hi, and everybody could tell him hi, and I'm sure that would boost his morale a bit. And John, I want you to be able to tell him about fishing a little bit. I passed along the message about the fish, and the fish were biting, and you were having some luck, but I don't know if it won't be the same as if we could do it, while you're here. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't have any messages in case they had contacted me. that he was available, but I do not see him. Or I mean, I do not see a message, so I'm going to guess not. And it might still be too early because, you know, while I'm sure he has been rousted out in and out of the bed by now 100 times, um, that doesn't mean anybody else is still. It's just 8:30, so I'm sure Sean is there. But anyway, they may be busy. People do different things in different ways. But hopefully he'll be back soon, and well, things will get back to normal, and he'll get back to normal. His crotchety old self. I told somebody yesterday, it might have been Philip, my buddy Phil, he was prepared getting ready. He would have been here today, but he was kind of busy. The of all people that I know in the world to have to be in the hospital, he is probably the he is probably the worst that I can think of because there I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know anybody who dislikes going to the doctor, much less going to the hospital, any more than him. He absolutely hates it. He don't like to go to the doctor. He fusses about it all the time. Anytime he does, he fusses because he's a little bit like me. And this is why I'm a little bit worried about him, or one of the reasons is he's a bit like me now. He's gotten beat up and he's a little bit broken up, and I don't want to say crippled up, but gimped up to the point where I know he's probably having a little bit more trouble getting around than he likes to admit, and so I know he's in pain a fair bit. He don't want to go to the doctor because, like me, all they ever say is, well, there's really nothing much we can do. You just have to work through it, whatever. And I can't tell you how many times they've told me that, and then sent me home miserable. But that doesn't give him a lot of faith in him. So anyway, he doesn't stay still hardly for the team. No, he has a hard time with that too, Ian. You're absolutely correct. Let me pull up a couple things that I do have. I did put together a couple of slides just for good morning, because that's what I do. And I don't know if I really need any notes at this moment. I think I can look at. Okay, you guys see? No, you don't see anything, do you? Now you should see something. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. He will too. I'll pass along your everybody's well wishes, and I may send him a card and I'll put everybody's name on it, maybe, or something. I don't know. And I know they've got a PO box. I don't know. If anybody wants to contact him or send him a card, let me know, and I'll ask about using this. I know he's got a PO box, and I think that'd be secure. He could send something there. I can't, but anyway, I get off that for a moment. Like I said, I get kind of emotional about it, so I did put together a few things. If anybody saw this thumbnail, you might have been thinking, well, what in the world is Tim doing in a scuba suit? And boy, does he look good in it. Well, that's not me, obviously. And I'll tell you who that is just in a moment. So, a little housekeeping. Please consider hitting the like button. I appreciate it if you do. It helps the channel a little bit. We're not, like I said, I'm not a fast growing, super ambitious kind of show guy, but I wouldn't mind building it up a little bit. So every little bit helps. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. As I've said before, apparently those comments somehow add up, and gets YouTube is more likely to share the stream out to strangers around the world. And thank you for being here. So let's see. So this happened. I don't know how many of you got to see them, but the Northern Lights visited the lower 48 this week, and Brenda and I did not get to see them, unfortunately. But the photo on the left is from my buddy Phil's house, and he did get to see them. And look how bright and spectacular they were in Seymour, Tennessee, which is way down south when it comes to where Northern Lights usually stop. So, good morning, Adventures by Dave. How are you, buddy? Or Adventures by D, excuse me, Dave. Um, did you guys get Dave? Did you by any chance get to see the Northern Lights this week? I read or heard somewhere that there was a chance some people as far south as Florida may have seen them. I don't know that for sure, but like I said, we couldn't see them here, but we have some obstacles in our way, if you will. The hillside and the mountain here behind us kind of blocks, because while they're up in the sky, they're on the low on the northern horizon, and we couldn't see them from the house. But like I said, Phil could, and that's the left picture is from Phil way off and that look how bright that is. I mean, and I learned something about this color. The photo on the right is from Diana, Mike and Diana in Canada, and they had more that it had a lot more colors. And but she sent me this one, so I thought I could maybe use it. And I didn't get to ask her about maybe borrowing some of the others. But anyway, and you can see there's green and pink and magenta colored. I kind of think that's a magenta color on the well, and it turns to purplish at the top on Phil's. But I learned something, and I'm also learning that I'm getting cotton mouth. Hang on. Well, there's a reason for that, Ian. That's what I was getting ready to say. And I didn't know this till this week because of this. Depending on your angle of view, apparently the magenta colored or pink skies are at a different or at a higher. Let me get this right. I think they're at a higher elevation in the atmosphere. Yeah, I guess that's elevation, altitude. So down here, that's what we were seeing because of our angle. I'm not going to get into all the science and physics of that, but the angle that our eyes are seeing it on above the horizon, further south you got, or when you're seeing it up at a higher, steeper angle. Steeper. I'm going to get this backwards, but anyway, you can only see the pink. But when you have a more open sky like Diana or your friends that live on the plain, more on the plains, you can see the whole from top, more of a top to bottom kind of thing, and you can see the green or the blue green. So that's the difference. Now, I didn't know that. I thought it was either that or they were mixed or whatever. But it is all about the angle that you're in the horizon there, the angle you're seeing them on the northern horizon. And so down here, we were seeing more pink color, and further north you got, or in more open skies, where you can see higher and lower. And I've probably got the high. Yeah, the green, I guess, is lower. You can see it at a lower angle if you've got the clearance to do that, like on the plains where you don't have mountains in your way. But when you're in the mountains and you're looking up above, trying to go above that to see what's out there, or down here where we're seeing it from a much further angle. And again, there's obstacles. We were getting the pink. Now, that is it in Tim's nutshell. I'm sure that you could go online and find a better explanation of that, but that is more or less how it works. And I didn't know that until this weekend, or not this weekend, this week. And but it was pretty spectacular. Um, they were supposed to be. That was Wednesday. I think that was Wednesday night, and they were supposed to be able to see them down here again on Thursday night, but we didn't see anything. And then I talked to Phil, and he didn't see anything. Apparently, it didn't turn out to be quite as, or it wasn't in a position where we could see it down here. Uh, I mean, it's all about the sun and sunspots and storms on the sun, and like I said, science. Well, I mean, I consider myself a scientist, but I'm not at that. I'm not on that level. I wish I knew more. I wish I could explain it better, honestly. But it is a cool thing to see, and it's amazing that it got this far south. Like I said, I heard there were people further south of us that got to see it. Again, I think it depended a lot on just what was between you and the horizon, and even if it was at a slight distance. Um, where Dave's at, maybe if even if he'd been, Dave said he was busy, but even if he'd been able to go out, maybe he could have seen it, maybe not. Phil got to see it, but I couldn't. And I'm actually a little further north than Phil is. I mean, not by a lot, but a little bit. And so, but so cool, man. I just thought that was, when he sent me that, I got really excited. Went running out of the house barefoot, and or in my sock feet at least, and because Brenda and I were sitting watching TV, and it was exciting. I heard you could see here in the Atlanta burbs. I wondered about that. That's why I asked Dave, because I heard that you could in parts of Georgia. Like I said, I swear I heard somebody say or read. I say heard. I read it. I'm sure that even parts of northern Florida you could see it, but I don't know how accurate that is. I could be way off, but it's look it up if you're interested. I mean, if you're not, that's okay too. But there are people who, I mean, I read it somewhere, so I know it's out there available about the color difference and all that. But really cool, Diana. If you, I don't know if you guys follow Diana and Mike on their Facebook pages, or they posted some more pictures. So this wasn't the only thing she had. They had some better ones, brighter colors. Although I think this was pretty cool. Oh, something else I learned that I did not know, and I probably should have thought of this, but because of filtration and lenses, and apparently sometimes that they are much more visible and brighter through the lens of your camera, or the picture that results from that, than they are just looking at them with your naked eye. And I didn't know that. In fact, I thought it might have been just the opposite, but I read about that too. And apparently, digital cameras these days, or I don't know if film cameras would work the same, but apparently, digital cameras like phone cameras, when you look through them, you can sometimes see the color that you can't see with your naked eye at all. And Diana mentioned that. She was saying that some of their colors were brighter than she had ever seen them with the naked eye, and that's in Canada. Um, if I'd known that, I would have gotten our camera out. Maybe we could have seen a little bit, because Brenda thought, we thought we could see just a hint of the pink, but it wasn't bright enough to, be sure. So who knows? Maybe if I'd gone ahead and gotten my phone out and took a picture, maybe it would have come out at least a little bit pinkish, as Kelly used to say. I know I've said this before. Our daughter, our youngest, when she was little, everything was pinkish something. Oh, Dad, I like that pony because he's pinkish brown. That kind of pinkish. Okay, and on that note, this also happened this week. Our friend Sarah, who is the young pilot that I interviewed a couple of years ago now, was on one of my first shows actually. Um, she sent this picture to Facebook. Actually, this picture came from her mom to Brenda and I on our phones. And that's Miss Sarah somewhere in the not South Atlantic, below South, off the coast of Florida, I believe is where they were. She went down there. She through the university here. She took scuba classes, and over a course of a couple of semesters, I don't know how long she's been in school. Anyway, she is now a master certified diver, and she is working on getting her rescue diving certificate next. Yes, Carol, she is a go getter. That young lady is not standing, as they used to say, there's no moss growing on her feet. Um, she don't stop much. Same Sarah. Yes, that's her. And there's also on her Instagram, and maybe I can pull that up in a minute. Um, yeah, in fact, let me do that. The she's just not she's flying a lot, not flying well, not a lot. She's going to college, so she's not flying a lot, but she is definitely staying busy. Well, oops, I opened that in the wrong place and it didn't show up. Hang on a moment. How do I do that? Sorry. I don't know if that popped over the screen or not. It was my friend Andy the Highlander telling a story about Scotland. So, this is our friend Sarah the pilot. And let me I lost the screen for a moment. Yeah, I guess I'll have to redo this. I have to hang with me, guys. I have to relearn this every week. So, this is Miss Sarah. And this is mostly her doing her flying stuff. So now I'm sitting here thinking, so why don't I see her other things? But I don't know. Some of you may know that she has been working with the Cirrus, CIRRUS, I believe is how they spell it, aircraft company. These are some of her influencer account pages. This green air. That's a Cirrus, and she's been working with them last couple of years as an influencer and a uh, online personality. Like she's been going every last couple of years with them to maybe the last 3 years. I was gonna see if I can pull up her scuba stuff. Yeah, here's at least one more picture of it. Shoot, I didn't know she had 2 pages. Um, Here's one of her. She's mastered breathing underwater. Um, well, there's more pictures than this. I don't know. Oh, maybe. Yeah, here's the group. Here's the group she went down with from the University of Tennessee here. And they all went down. Well, I assume with the instructors here. I don't know if they may go down there and meet other instructors for this certification. But they went down and got certified, and she will cool beans patrons only. I hadn't seen that sign. Oh, that's a video I didn't realize. course, it wouldn't be any sound, just bubbles. But evidently, they were working on, looks like they were training off of a wreck of some sort. Sailboat, maybe, I can't tell. But I'm assuming that's Sarah waving at the camera. And that's, I guess, part of the group. And this is Sarah on the far right. So, for any of you who don't know Sarah, that's her. Check her out. I'm sure she'd take the followers. But she's been traveling a little bit with Sarah's, going to special events like Oshkosh. She was at Oshkosh again this year with them. Hangs out at the tent, takes a lot of photos with their merch. I'm sure sells a fair bit of merch. I'm sure she is quite the, I would say she probably draws a crowd. Technology with Tim is one of my favorite segments of the show. Thank you, bro. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that a lot. It can be exciting, this technology with Tim, because you never know just how bad it's going to go. Okay, I've got some more stuff here. Hang on a minute. I'm not finished. Sorry, I messed a little bit. My thermos and sweats inside the cap, and when I open it, it drips on everything. Sometimes. I don't know. Did anybody else besides me hear that X-File theme in the background? Maybe it's just in my head. So anyway, that was Sarah. That's what she's been up to. And this also happened. Got up the other morning and looked out the window, and guess what? It was snowing right here in East Tennessee. Not a lot. It didn't stay around. You can see it's on the porch. That's why I took that picture. And I believe this one, just to prove this is real, I made this one a video. You can hear the TV in the background. But snow was falling. I mean, it was a little bit, it was small flakes, nothing big. But man, it came down for a little bit. You can see its visibility is lessened even just across the road. And I don't know, I'm trying to remember if this is, again, I'm a little confused. I don't know if I've been in chat since this happened, because I've been in other people's chats and I know I've talked about this. It got down to 18 degrees one morning in the last week. Now, that may not be anything if you live in Canada or certain parts of the north, but that surprised me because I wasn't expecting 18 here in Tennessee in the early part of November. Now, I can remember many a Thanksgiving when I was in a tree stand or I was out in the woods deer hunting when it was in the 20s. But it hadn't been that way in a long time. I mean, November is shirt sleeve weather around here usually. It's just about as bad as Florida. And I know they would disagree, but well, they might not. They think it's cold when it's 60, but yeah, 18, and I was really surprised. And that was that was probably day before or day after the snow. And we usually don't get snow if it's that cold here. I don't know about you guys. It's so dry out west. I don't know if that plays. I think that humidity must play into that. But we get the most snow, the deepest, the heaviest, the most intense usually in here when it's about 35 degrees. Once it gets down below that towards 30, it tends to slacken off, or not always, but sometimes gets less. And but 30, when it's about 35 is usually when it really snows hard here. So anyway, so I know I'm pretty sure it wasn't 18 when the morning it was 18. It wasn't the morning it snowed. But they were in there close together. So evidently, judging by Carol and Ian's comments and reaction, I had not told you all that, so I must have been somewhere else, which is so good. Um, I wasn't just rehashing old news here. I don't know. I may have something else here. Let's see. Oh, and somebody had asked about Teddy. And one day in last week, a couple weeks ago in chat, someone had asked about Teddy. Want to know how Teddy was doing. And seen Teddy in a while. And so Brenda took this picture for me, and she said, "Here's Teddy. Here's how he's doing when I'm not there." That's my normal seat there, and he's waiting on me. Believe it or not, he's waiting on me to come home, as we say. I spend a lot of, once I come up here to the library, I'm usually there most of the day. My brother said he got snow. Yeah, it was probably the same day, John. I wonder if I wonder how cold it got at his house, because on this side of the mountain, it was 18 degrees, according to my outside thermometer, anyway. And it got chilly. And Phil said it dipped down. I think Phil said his thermometer, again, we're at slightly different elevations and altitude and degrees north and south latitude. I think he said his thermometer said 17, mine said 18. No, I thought Brenda was here. I don't know if she's in here. I should have called her. Let me do that and say, hey, everybody in chat thinks you're ill because you're not here, or I beat you up or something. So let's just see if she's awake. She was when I left, but that means she didn't doze off when it got quiet in the house again. Yeah, once I leave and everything gets quiet some morning, she goes back to sleep. She's not answering, so I'd say that is the case. Now, we'll see if that woke her up. And if it did, she'll probably pop into the chat any moment. Yeah, and I don't think she's here. I don't think she's been here. Hey, you want to pop online and say hi to folks? They think I might have beat you up or something, and you're not here. So I need you to prove, help me prove that's not the case. And that way, Ian or nobody will turn me in for spousal abuse or anything. All right, bye. So there you go. She's going to be here in a moment. I'm going to leave Teddy up here till she gets here. As you can see, the young man hasn't lost any weight. He's grown, if anything. And I know he's not the biggest cat in the world. I've seen bigger cats, but man, is he a whopper. Bless his heart. He gets. You got both stuck there. And no, he didn't, Ian. I just knew that if I told her you said it, she'd believe me. Cats have a cat like him. They all have certain size feet. They're all pretty much the same. When they stand on a 1 foot, when he stands on 1 foot, it feels like 50 pounds, and he always manages to stand on my leg and the part of my leg where the hematoma is. It really hurts when he stands on it. And he always hops up in my lap, and that's the first thing he does is put 1 foot on that and just kind of lean on it. If I didn't know better, I'd think he was doing it on purpose. But yeah, he's 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 in the 20 to 25 pound range. I'm thinking now. I hadn't weighed him lately. Uh, I need to because I need to see because I'm sure I know he hadn't lost any weight, but he's not gotten too much bigger either. We've been trying not to let him eat too much. But then again, cat's going to eat what a cat's going to eat. So otherwise, he's healthy and happy. Man, I miss him though. I miss him being up here. I don't get to see him as much. And according to Brenda, he sits at there's a hallway that runs down out to the garage door where I go in and out usually when I'm coming to the library because it's on that end of the house. And he'll go down there and sit at the door waiting on me when it's time to come in at night. And so apparently he misses me too, but apparently he doesn't miss me enough that he's willing to get in the cat carrier and come up here and visit. That's just he just does not. He believes that's below his level. His dignity just won't let him stoop that low. But there he is. He is what he is. He's a good boy. He still beats up on his sister, and she's still just a little bitty thing compared to him. So, anybody else got anything planned for the weekend? Guys, I'm going to throw this out there again. I'm sure I've said if anybody out there has something they'd like to talk about one Saturday, or has something they'd like to come on and talk about, that invitation is always open. Then by all means, let me know. We'll talk about it. One of these days I probably ought to get John on here. We ought to talk about surf fishing. I have done that just a little bit, and by that I mean a very little compared to John, a few times, and never did it enough to learn much about how to do it right. We're going to our first Comic-Con. Oh, really, Carol? Well, that should be fun. Where in Detroit? I assume. I've never the comic thing. I mean, I don't never kept up with a lot of that. I mean, I barely knew who the Avengers were much, and the Fantastic Four. I actually knew them better. I must have read more DC comics when I was a kid. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. Actually, were all DC comics. The others were Marvel. And totally lost that chain of thought. But I think going to Comic-Con would be a lot of fun. I think I would enjoy the cosplay part of it, the costuming, the weapons, that kind of stuff. I mentioned last week, Kelly, our youngest, had a show at the, which apparently she did real well. The Appalachian, what did they call that? I don't know if it was Southern Appalachian or just said Appalachian. Anyway, it was a Renaissance festival. Renaissance and what they call it? They added something else to the name besides just Renaissance. Anyway, I would like to have gone to that. I like the swords and the armor and the skill that it takes to make that stuff. I've talked about that a little bit. I've done some blacksmithing and hammered out a few blades, but not enough to be good at it yet. I wish I could do it here. I shop around all the time for blacksmithing tools, but Brenda discourages me from such pursuits, and she probably has a good point. Although it's a hell of a way to build up strength. So I like to see that I like to look at that kind of stuff. Archery, they had archery competitions at that one. I'd love to try my hand at that. if I could draw a longbow again. They they had jousting. They had sword fights, as Donald Daffy Duck would say. Um, they had what else did they have? Oh, they had axe throwing, which is might be more of a modern pursuit. I don't know if the knights of old threw their axes or not, but anyway, that kind. I like that aspect of it. I'd like to have gone. Plus, Renaissance Festival in Nashville, south of Nashville, many years ago, was the first place I ever ate a smoked turkey leg. So I would probably have liked to have gone and had a turkey leg. Well, I thought Brenda would be on by now. I'm not sure if she's going to make it or not. Let me look here real quick. I don't know if I've got. I don't know if I've got many more slides. I'll get rid of that slide screen. Maybe. Yeah, that might be it. So I'll keep Teddy up there for now. He might not appreciate being the end slide, but he got to take what he's got. And why, oh, why is that so large? Oops. Oh, I know why. Never mind. Ding, another technology with Tim moment there, Ian. So, Carol, who in the family is most excited about going to the Comic Con? I mean, is this something you or Danny were into and wanted to go, or is this with some of the kids? I'm assuming it's kids, um, unless you happen to be a fan of the Big Bang Theory, and those guys they love Comic Con. But that's the first place I ever heard about such events. I didn't even know that Comic Con was a thing. Well, I'm not sure she's going to make it. I'm going to text her. I can show you one other thing, I think. I don't know if it'll let me add this. I can do this or not. While we're waiting on Brenda. Danny's idea. Sydney is most excited and going to dress up as some anime character I've never heard of. I only know a couple of anime characters, and well, I guess the Pokemon characters were anime. Sailor Moon is the one I can think of, and I know who that is because of a friend of mine I worked with in Nashville. His girls were into that, and something popped up one day about Sailor Moon, and nobody in the shop knew anything about it except Amert, our friend. I think this is do this right here. Let me see if I've got. I have a picture. I could show that too. Yeah. Okay. while we're waiting on Brenda, Mom. Hey, Mary Ellen, welcome back or welcome in. Actually, not welcome back. I saw you in this our dreams chat, didn't I? Oh no, Tim, I have to alert you. Oh no, 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 don't do that, Ian. Why? Why would you do that? We were waiting, Mary Ellen. We're at a moment of pause here because with my cat Teddy in the picture because I'm waiting on my spousal unit to show up, but I'm beginning to wonder if she's going to make it today. Um, I'm going to try to add one more slide to my show here if I can while I have a moment or while I'm taking a moment to wait on her and put something in the screen. Yes, yes. And every once in a while it works, buddy. I'm telling you, I'm going to surprise you. Oh, man. Okay. Sorry about that. That was distracting. I didn't need to see that right now. Um, some of you know that my daughter is in business, or both my daughters are in business, if you will. One does artiste stuff. And I always figured that we always thought the older daughter would do this because she's always been into really artistic stuff. And but the younger daughter is doing it, and then the younger oldest daughter has the auction company. Uh, I don't know. I say that because I don't know if they share that exactly or not, and but they do work together on it. So, but I don't know if Kelly's name is on the books. Um, yeah, this is gonna work. Gonna work, in, buddy. All right. Hang on, just Mary Ellen, if you got just a minute, hang on. You might appreciate this, but first, I'm calling my wife again because I don't know what. You gonna make it? Well, you're not. I'm sitting here waiting on you to show up, telling everybody you're gonna be here, and you're making me look bad. Hi to Freddie, Mary Ellen. Yeah, Freddie says hi. No, it's a person. Okay, you gonna make it or not? All right, try a little harder. Bye. Well, she thought she was on her way. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm gonna stop right there before I put my foot in my mouth and say something I'll regret later. So I'll just go ahead. She'll get here in a minute. I'll back up and show this picture then to her. But also going on, that was this. This is our youngest daughter, Kelly. And when I tell you that she's our youngest, then I get if I told you her age, you'd realize just how old I am. Um, that's some of her art that she does and displays and sells. And that's a banner that we can't really read, but her company name is Undying, UNDYING Creations with a K for Kelly. She has a Facebook page, and some of you have seen her art. Um, and she was dressed up for the Ren Fest and spent a couple of days down there walking around in the dirt and the mud. But the first day that they opened that apparently they had really good crowds. In fact, maybe way more than they expected. And she did a lot of business on the first day. The second day, weather was a little bit iffier, and I'm not sure they had as many people, but and I haven't talked to her yet to see how she did. Our other daughter with the auction company, she just closed out an auction last night, and I bought some books. If you can believe that, and I had a chance to get some really cool books. Carol, they had, I say Carol, but anyone who's interested in books. She had a couple of first edition Jack London books. Jack London's the guy that wrote Call of the Wild and White Fang. Some of you may know from movies. Yeah, yeah, and I did. Believe it or not, I did. I still do that every once in a while when I can get away with it. And I don't always tell on myself, but Brenda's not here, so. Anyway, um, so her auction closed out yesterday, and I've got to send her a note and tell her that she needs to put something in her auctions that qualifies that certain things are not to be bid on, so that her father can afford to buy them. So other people don't bid me out. Man, did I get in a bidding war yesterday? And when I say a bidding war, understand that I'm talking in dollars less than 100, um, generally. But I had to sit there and watch some books go by that I really, really wanted. That I just decided I couldn't stay. I didn't want to take a chance because they were going higher and higher and higher. And she had a couple of books that sold. That first edition Call of the Wild, she had one of them. She actually had a couple of them, but one of them was the first edition, and it may have been autographed. Um, it went for a pretty good chunk of change, and then she had some other things that really went up. And I had some things I was following, and if you guys have ever done online auctions, you've probably been through this. But I had some things I was following that I really wanted, and I was watching them. And hang on a minute. I distracted my own self. That's horrible. Um, and they weren't moving. Nothing was. There were some things I was watching and I was kind of thinking, yeah, I could use another bookshelf, for example. Yet, Carol. I mean, I know it's a surprise. I mean, it's really shocking. I don't think Brenda's going to make it. I don't know what's going on with her. I'm really disappointed. Anyway, and they started growing. So I think she might have had a really good sale yesterday. I hope she did, or last week. Her sales generally run 9 or 10 days. They always close out on Friday nights when she starts one. So I don't know if they try to always start like on a Monday, and then they'll go through weekend, and then the following Friday is usually when they close. I think that's how she does it. We don't have cats. We take care of our neighbor's cats. Oh, that's cool, Carol. I didn't know that. So for example, one of the things I did buy yesterday was I think a first edition. I'm not positive about that, but it was a copy of Kermit Roosevelt's book about he and his father's travels in Africa and South America. Now, I don't know if you know who Kermit is. Kermit Roosevelt was not related to the frog. Was Teddy Roosevelt's, Theodore Roosevelt's son. And Teddy Roosevelt had several children. I want to say 8, but I'm not positive about that number. Mixed group, boys and girls, and a couple of his boys, a couple of them, the older ones, did things with him. I think one of them might have been in World War I. Anyway, well, I know one of them. Oh, actually, one of them was in World War II, now to think about it. But anyway, Kermit used to travel with his dad and went on safari with him a lot, and was with him on the River of No Return in South America, where he just about died and didn't make it back. So I was really excited to maybe get that one, and I did. I got it, and I got it reasonably inexpensive. Now, I say that excited, like maybe I think it's going to be worth something someday, and it may never be worth what I paid for it. But it is exciting to me because I believe he signed it, which would be really cool. I don't know that it's his. I don't know for sure that it's his signature, but it looks like it is, and I'm excited about that. Either way, I don't care. I got the book, and I wanted it. I think I did get a. I think I won. I got to go back and look at how things really shook out because the auction closes and it usually says you may have won because the way her auctions run and the way I guess most online auctions are now, if somebody bids at the last minute or even within the last seconds of the auction closing, um, it re-ups for 2 or 3 minutes and gives people a chance to rebid or bid again or whatever. So you never know for sure, but I think I got an early copy, and I believe this is a first edition for sure. Robert Service, and I don't know if you guys know who Robert Service was, but he wrote poetry in the Klondike and the Yukon and during the Yukon Gold Rush days of the late early 1900s. Um, and I've read a couple of his poems on the show. In fact, they're usually very long sagas of events, things that happen. Well, good morning. Look who made it. That's my darling bride, Brenda. Good morning, Brenda. Everybody was just saying how it's sad that you didn't make it to the chat this morning to, support me since Mark's not here. But oh well. Ian in particular was really thinking that. Oh, Ian didn't say anything like that. I just chucked him under the bus again. Let's see here, Brenda. This was the picture I was trying to show. I was hoping you'd make it before I turned this off, but there's this picture of Teddy that you sent me. Oh, you have to go, Mary Ellen. Well, thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate it. And I'll see you again maybe next Wednesday night if you're on. I think you're on Wednesday. I mean, I know you're on Wednesdays, but I don't know if you're going to be there this week. I can't remember if you were or not, but I think so. And her friend Freddie was there. Freddie's from Ireland. He's visiting, and they were doing some running around and traveling and seeing a few sights. I think I'd like to meet Freddie. I think Freddie's probably a really interesting character. Oh, that's right. You're going to be at the basketball game. That's right. I knew you weren't going to be there one night coming up. So we'll see you then. I think you're going to be there the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. You're the one. Well, tell Freddie we said hi, and have a good day. Anyway, Brenda, there's your picture of Mr. Pockets. And then I was showing this photograph of Kelly, some of her artwork, and her two newest cats. These guys are probably a year old. I'm not sure how old they are. One of them's name is Figgy, short for Figment. His probably name is Figment. They call him Figgy. And the other one's name is Thiggy, and that's from the Thiggy Pudding song. Maybe it could be from the Muppet Christmas Carol, I think. Anyway, so they're Thiggy and Figgy. And they're interesting cats. And she sent me this picture the other day and said, "Look, the boys are playing in a box," which our cats play in boxes all the time. They love boxes. And you know that all cats love boxes. Even tigers love boxes. Um, she put some leaves in this box and set it in the middle of the floor. And next thing you know, this is what they're doing. They're both laying in it, taking a nap, but they were playing in it. Uh, Brenda, help me out here. What's the term? Or Carol, for that matter. Um, Reinforce. It's oh, come on, somebody help me out. Um, well, I'll tell you who can help me out. Kelly, because she told me I said something about it. She said, "You know, Dad, it's." She made a sensory box, is what she called it. Oh, actually, I had two or three other pictures. I might have had. Well, they're all pretty much doing the same thing. Anyway, they're cute cats. They're pretty. They're pretty good sized boys too. Now they're. We were just down there a week or so ago and visited for a few minutes, maybe 2 weeks ago, and they've grown quite a bit. I remember them last year. They were just little bitty guys. That's all right, Carol. I got close enough. I know there's another word for it: reinforcement, sensory reinforcement, or there. But there's another word, and they use it all the time now with like in zoos with wild animals that helps them maintain or retain some of their natural um, hell, I'm struggling with that too. Abilities. What's the word I'm looking for? The things that they would do naturally in the wild. Once they live in a zoo for a while, they kind of lose track. And for years, they didn't do that. They had animals in a zoo and they just laid around in the zoo and became shiftless and weren't really the wild animals that they really started out to be. And now they do a much, much better job of that. Anyway, that's Dying Creations, and that's Figgy and Figgy Kelly's cats. I don't have. Kelly also has two dogs. She has a Japanese Chin named Oreo, black and white, and a standard poodle named Eva, who is a brindled colored poodle, which I had never seen before. I always thought poodles were black or white. I mean, that's all I'd ever seen. Maybe some off color of those two things, but this one she's got is brindle colored. She's really pretty. And she bought her. Kelly is also a dog groomer, and she actually bought Eva so that she would have a large poodle to practice artistic grooming. There's competitions for that. Anyway, guys. So Brenda, Carol, and her family, and that's the last slide I had. So thank you guys for bearing with me through that. The there it went. I thought I closed that out. Carol and company, they're going to Comic Con today, which I think is exciting. Not today, tomorrow. Excuse me. Um, I think the most exciting thing Brenda and I have planned is to take the trash to the local convenience center and go to the grocery store. That may be it. Although there was something. Oh, Christmas trees. We might go Christmas tree shopping. Artificial. I want to put one up out here. I think I need something. I think out here I need something tall and skinny. Well, maybe not too tall, but slender, not too big around because it would take up too much space. And I want to put it, maybe I'll put it right in front of the that black flag back there. I want to set it somewhere where it can be seen from the online. And I'm trying to get a small Christmas train. I've been wanting to get a train set for you. Is the Sons of Liberty flag new? Am I just not very observant? Well, I don't always have it unfurled, Carol, and I don't think it was as visible at one point. But I decided I'm going to fly it, and I'm proud of it. So I do my bit. And if you ever want to discuss that sometime, we can. I won't do it here. It's political, I must admit. Um, but, Sons of Liberty go back way back to the beginning of this country. So I think along those lines. But anyway, I want to put up a Christmas tree, and I want to put a train around it. And Brenda found, it's actually a neat thing, but not really what I was looking for. But you can now buy a train, Christmas train, battery powered, that mounts to the center pole of a Christmas tree, artificial, maybe real live tree or formerly live tree. And the train rides around up in the branches of the Christmas tree. It's really kind of neat looking. But I don't think that's what I want. What I really want is a small electric train that I can eventually maybe use to build a model train layout of some sort. I've wanted to do that for years and years, and I just never have had a spot to put it in, and I've always put it off. I wish I'd been buying trains all my life. I used to go to little train shows in Nashville and in Knoxville, and I've always just really, again, it's the mechanical part of me that of everything I am, one of them is a gearhead, always and forever, I guess. And so I've always wanted to build a model train setup, and not huge, but big enough to run a couple of small trains around. So the question's always been, what gauge to buy? What the most common train I think today they say is an HO scale, and those are about yay big. The locomotives and cars are about that big. But they also make something called an N scale, and they're about this big. Really cool, but they're the most expensive. It turns out that in model train building and in other things, size isn't what matters. Well, maybe it does, just because in this case, the smaller it gets, the more expensive it seems to be. So while you could do a lot more layout and a lot more work with an N scale train in a smaller area, I don't know if I can afford to or not. It's just more. It just costs more. A small circular track and electric train under our tree for years. That's what I'm looking for right now, Carolyn. But I would like to have it. But what I envision is a train, regardless of which size I end up with, probably HO scale, that I can also maybe use, on another track that doesn't have to be necessarily just Christmas. But what I want to do is I want to put one around the tree, just because I wanted one. My brother had a train, or we had a train. I'm not sure if it was his or mine or ours, or both of us together, probably. When I was much younger, and it was kind of a standard Lionel size train, about locomotive, probably about this long. And if anybody's ever been, I tell you one comparison on scale. If anybody's ever been to Epcot, which I know most of you guys have that are in here right now, or some of you at least have, and you go to Germany, they've got the trains that run outside there. I believe those are the Lionel gauge or O size trains. Um, what is strange? Smaller it is, the more expensive it is. Always makes me wonder. Hey, doesn't it, Ian? But that's if you look at trains, you'll see what I'm saying is true. Um, I'm sure there are exceptions to that rule, but what was I saying? Oh, those trains. Oh, the trains that are at Germany and Epcot, and they make there are larger trains that are, oh, let's say locomotives this size. They're called G scale or garden scale, and they're actually made to run outside. And people actually put them in their gardens, and sometimes they run in and out with like a dog door in their garage or something, but they run around through the garden. Ian says he had a train set as a young lad. I know what you're talking. Oh, there you go. Well, when I was growing up, the best we ever did was a piece of 4x8 plywood, and we ran that train set around and around. And but we never. But after we had it years later, I started getting more into it, or would have probably. But I always wanted to do a layout. I always wanted to build a town, or trestle and that kind of stuff. And I've been following that kind of thing online for years, and get emails from different people trying to sell me trains or show me train layouts or all that kind of stuff. And well, thing about Lionel's, Carol, just a little bit of a fun fact, is they kind of have their own size, uh, and they may be standardized to an O now. I'm not sure about that, but Lionel's run. I think they have their scale is nobody else builds trains on the same. So I don't know. That keeps you running on different people's tracks, I guess. Sell more trains that way. But Lionel is certainly a traditional American train name, and if I had more room, I think Lionel size trains would be probably more fun in some ways, especially if you had kids. I think if you had kids, that size might be better for young hands. Excuse me. Had cornbread for breakfast, Brenda. Ian said he had a table that would pull down from the wall. Never got the scenery all put together. Had the track laid and the. Oh, really? That's cool. And the pine trees and the rocks. May have had a station or two. That's cool. Brenda's dad, apparently, when he was a yonker, either had a train or wanted trains, and they had, and I don't know if she knows what happened. I think we talked about this not too long ago. But she had, they used to have at his house some old Lionel buildings that were left over from when he was a kid, which would have been really cool to have. So I guess probably one of the nephews or grandkids or whatever's got them now. But um, there was like a trestle of sign, a flashing railroad crossing sign, seems like, and maybe a crane and a station building. I don't know, Brenda, do you remember? I do hope she's still in here. Oh, that's cool, Carol, that they do that. Um, Somebody now in Knoxville has a display. I've never made it down to see it, and I'm trying to think who it is. Surely it's not the library. Oh, there she is again. She came back in. Brenda, do you remember what the buildings or the stuff that your dad had or you guys had that belonged to your dad that were like old Lionel train stuff? I'm talking Christmas trees and Christmas trains or trains. Um, course, I'm not sure if we put a tree, if we put one around the tree down at the house, I don't know how the cats will react. I think they'll probably just lay there and look at it personally, because as you guys can tell, Teddy's not that adventurous. I'm doing good. I messed my phone up bit. Oh, yeah. Last night she said, "Hey, I have a question about my phone," and she said, "How do you restart?" She recently got a month or so ago. She got a new phone, and she said, "How do I actually turn my phone off to update it, or to?" Because she just hadn't had it turned off, and I told her, and she was struggling with that a little bit. And then I said, "Do you want to bring it up here and I'll show you?" She said, "No, I got it." Well, then I went down there last night, and we're talking about. She said, "You don't happen to know where I can my how did she put that?" She something about her keyboard was messed up, and we'll come to find out that wasn't all. But she had somehow she had hit the place on the phone where it said reset the default, and she just thought that meant it would go back to what it was like yesterday, because she'd messed up something on her keyboard or something. But it didn't do that. It turns out that reset the default takes you right back to when it came from the factory. So you got some real basic things on there, and the basic phone system, and that's it. So she had deleted all of her apps and all of her phone stuff, and everything was gone. I'm doing good. I messed my phone up yesterday, so I'm having a hard time finding things on it. But you think you got everything reloaded last night. She found them somewhere. Like maybe she found a copy of everything she had on the cloud or something. But anyway, she was working on that last night. I was afraid that when she said that, everything was lost. If it was on her phone, it was long gone. And I just thought about something you might have had on your phone, Brenda, regarding the house. So, did you find everything you had maybe on the house that was on your phone? If not, we might need to work on that. She had a lot of stuff on there, I think, or had been using it. I'm back to the point where I don't want my phone to get any larger than this. I can remember at a time when I thought, "Oh, this is getting too big." Hers is a little bit bigger than this. I really don't want to get anything much bigger. I hope that if they keep getting bigger, they may drive me back to a flip phone in the end, after all. Finally bought your mom a jitterbug. There you go. Speaking of flip phones and things of that nature, that's that's what I hear, Ian. And I'm not ready for one yet, but I'm sure someday I will be. Bigger buttons, less whistles and bells, and all that. Dave, you got any trips planned? Adventures by Dave D. Adventure by D. Dave. Do you have, or the other Dave for that matter, if he's here? Um, do you have any trips planned or anything that's released that I might ought to mention that we could send people over to watch? Maybe because I haven't checked out your site lately. I need to go see what might be on there. Theo have a flip phone or a smartphone? Went with flip. Oh, they have a flip phone or a smartphone. Probably a good idea, Ian. In some ways, I like the flip phone because, in some ways, because it protected the keys and the screen, such as it was, and you didn't get butt calls so much. But I don't seem to have that trouble, so can't say I've never made a butt dial or an accidental dial, but I certainly have it. The But I don't carry it in my pocket like that either. I've never been comfortable with it in my back pocket. I'd sit on it and break it for sure. It seems like everybody I know who sticks theirs in their back pocket has a cracked screen. Can't be a coincidence, can it? Or it seems like it anyway. The pants I wear that I like to wear these days are kind of sort of painter's pants in a way, I guess. And they've got a pocket on the leg that fits my phone perfectly. And it's in a position where I don't bump it and I don't set on it and I don't hit it and it's protected. And I think it's good. Well, you know what? You know what, Ian? Congratulations to your mom for even working with it or trying to use it or knowing how to use it. You know, I don't know if my parents, the most complicated electronic thing they ever had that I know of may have been an or a digital picture frame that we bought them. Hey, Jason Thibodeau, welcome in. Good to see you, buddy. We bought them for Christmas one year. We bought them a picture frame that I loaded a whole bunch of family photos on of us and the girls at Disney World and just other places, so they would have kind of a running picture album, right there on the not on the coffee table or wherever they chose to put it, and that's pretty much what it did. It just ran whatever I put in it until we came up and I put something else in it. Um, and my dad actually worked with computers very early on in the 60s when his company was, which was the first one in Johnson City, I believe. Um, I mean, he was always good with math and numbers, and of course back then there was a lot more of that kind of stuff in it. And I was always kind of proud of this once I learned it figured it out years later. But they tested everybody to see who might be able to be the best. And I'm talking about people that never heard of a computer hardly, much less ever worked on one. Nobody had computers, and certainly not desktops. And he ranked real high on that, which I thought was amazing for a guy who had been to school and he had some college early business type training in school, but certainly had never gone to a computers class. And this was in the 60s. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna bear with me. I'm gonna talk around the peppermint for a few minutes. I've got a terribly dry mouth again. She lost her Google Pixel 6, right? Or she moved into what did you think about that phone, Ian? Did you or she like the Google? I've read some good things about them. I don't study up on them, so I don't know. I've heard they brag about having really good cameras in them, or lenses. Gotcha, Ian. Ouch! I just hurt myself. Mm, that hurt a little bit. Um, I've thought about trying. When we got new phones a time or two, I've looked at Pixels and Google phones and thought about them, but I just never have done it. I guess at this point, I'm probably going to stick with my Samsungs. I know them, and I'm not going to get any smarter, so I probably ought to keep using that till I forget how to use it. I had a Razor for a while, and I really liked that phone, Motorola phone, and then I couldn't get those anymore, or at least not the ones I wanted. And it seems like we've had. I may have had a Oh, what are they? Same people make our washing machine, I mean our dishwasher. IG? No, it don't sound right. Anyway, I liked them, but again, in the end, I think I'll probably stick with my Samsung at this point. I like it. I like the camera, um, and now I know where things are on it. So stick with what you're used to, I guess. Never had an iPhone. Never wanted an iPhone. I've been handed iPhones and couldn't figure out how to open them or turn them on or dial a number. So that didn't help. Well, Carol, that's where I was going with that because I wondered about the laptop and the tablet. And somebody else I know was, oh, Mark's mom. They never had internet. Now, I suspect her mom had worked with desktop computers at her old jobs before she retired, maybe. But his dad never has messed with them. I mean, he's really good with that. Probably would be really good with that kind of stuff, but he just doesn't want to. But recently, in the last few months, Mark's sister has helped them hook up to the internet in their house. No Wi-Fi. Well, there is Wi-Fi in the house, but it's all landline. They don't have any. You can't get cell service and that sort of thing where they live. Period. But they do have internet now because of the cable, and she's actually uses Facebook so she can keep up with the grandkids and the kids and all that. I thought that was great. I'm quite proud of her actually. Mark's mom such a she's always been such a hoot. I really love her to death, and her dad, his dad too, for that matter. But his mom's special. She's always got a smile and a laugh, and I can hear her laugh. She's got a little chuckle that she when she does. It's just heartwarming, if you will. Good idea, Ian. If nothing else, that probably protects her. I've never told this story online, but I guess I can at this point in life. But my dad got in. He fell into a trap like that, but not on the computer, on the phone. And before my brother and I could knew what was going on and could stop it, he had been milked for quite a bit of money. Uh, I say quite a bit. It was quite a bit to him. Hell, quite a bit to me, but not quite a bit to a lot of people. But it was several many thousands of dollars, more than I. And I mean, if we'd known, we would have stopped it immediately. But we had to. Or my brother, who lived up here at the time I didn't, worked with the FBI and TBI, I guess, to Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, to try to see if they could regain any of that money, but it was offshore and they couldn't. It was gone, gone, gone. So they have to be careful. Hell, I have to be careful. Yeah, it made me pretty mad, Ian, and it just goes to show that it can happen to anybody. There's part of me that was amazed that it happened because Dad was never one to He never frivolous and never, certainly didn't throw money around. But he was convinced that this was a real thing, and once he got in, then they were after him for more and more money, and next thing you know, I mean, they were all but threatening him to. And maybe that's when he told my brother what was going on, and that's when we got it stopped. And it was a organized thing. They were the same group were milking other people out of money, but they were, like I said, they were offshore. They think some of them were in either Jamaica or Bermuda. I can't remember which. Probably Jamaica. I think Bermuda may still be under the British Commonwealth flag, and that might have been different. But wherever they were at, they couldn't do anything. I mean, it's just gone. They are, Carol, and I tell you what I think, and I'm a not religious kind of person in the typical sense or way people look at it, but I do believe that there is a very special place in hell for people who treat other people that way. And I'd love to see them burn if there is such a thing. I would like to. Certainly. There are some horrible, horrible things I'd like to do to people like that I can't even mention out loud. Again, if you want to talk about it private sometime, I'll be glad to. But man, it really upset everybody. I mean, obviously it upset me because he got fleeced, or partially, whatever. Like I said, he wasn't a rich man, which made it worse. I mean, in all honesty, because it was a much bigger percentage of his retirement. Which is what, that might be a Saturday night or for Thursday night show topic. Which I'm thinking about redoing for anybody who's interested. Don't know for sure yet when I'm going to start. I've been talking about it for months, and I'm pretty much ready to do that. I think the Thursday night show, or one night, I'll look and see who all is on and when might be the best time to go. And then again, I might just have to pick a night, and it'll probably be like an hour long or an hour and a half max. I'll try to keep it under. No one will be like this show, which tends to run long. Because once I start talking, especially if Mark's here, we tend to talk and talk and talk and talk. And you guys hang around, so I guess it's okay, or for the most part. And honestly, if you guys ever want to say, "Hey, guys, enough is enough," please do. Or I honestly, I figure people that aren't here probably don't they probably left us already. But we do talk. But we do like to talk, and we tell stories. We tell tales on each other and our life. But we also like to get on subjects, scientific, historic, that sort of thing, and they tend to run. So I just don't. I don't force myself to stick to that tight of a timeline at this point. If I was at Walt Disney World and we were live streaming from the park, it wouldn't be unusual at all to be on 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 5, 6 hour, 12 hours a day. So I figure if we go a couple hours a day on a Saturday, and maybe sometimes we go 3 hours a day, 3 hours on a Saturday, that's okay. And if there's people still hanging around listening and talking, then I don't have a problem hanging around. To me, it's not much different than everybody hanging around everybody won't be able to appreciate this, I guess, but it's like old men used to hang around the Cracker Barrel, literally, and shoot the breeze at the old country store. And maybe in some ways that's how I look at this. So, like, Ian and Carol and others, I appreciate the repartee, a certain camaraderie or certain amount of audience participation, and I welcome more. And everybody and anybody here is always welcome to ask if you want to be on the show. If you want to get more involved in the conversation, just let me know, and we'll work that out. If you ever have a story or you do something you'd really like to talk about and you don't have your own platform, let me know. We'll be glad to do that. We all hang out for a long time when we can. We let you know when we need. Yeah, you do, Carol, and I appreciate that. I feel bad sometimes because I think people may be staying around because they think they don't want to leave, but I also don't want to keep someone from doing something else they need to do or want to do. Um, if we're on a roll and we're talking about something we want to finish, just quite honestly, Mark and I'd probably sit here and talk to each other about it. We do that too. We'd actually do that sometimes. He would rather get on the screen and talk where we can see each other and then talk on the phone. So it's not too. And every once in a while, I'll set up a private or a test feed or a private stream of him, and I'll talk. If anybody else wants to ever do that, I'm always open for that too. Doesn't have to go out to the whole wide world. It just goes to our computer and it stops. I close it out, I kill it, I delete it, whatever. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just between us. And Mark and I do that every once in a while, like I said, because he would rather do that than talk on the phone. When I lived in northern Idaho, or even Castle Rock south of Denver before it got big, there were small coffee shops and breakfast places where you can get the best story. Isn't that true, Ian? That's very true. I grew up like that too in different places. I mean, one place that you could see that happening here today in this part of the country a lot of times is Hardee's and breakfast. It's amazing the number of farmers and just local guys around, the county or the countryside that work or do that kind of work. You find them at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. at the Hardee's. Hardee's will open up around here. Uh, if you don't know, Hardee's is a fast food place. I know it's not in all parts of the country, but uh, a lot of them around here open up early. They've been serving breakfast. They were probably the first place around here fast food chain that I remember doing breakfast: sausage biscuits, steak biscuits, biscuits and gravy, that kind of thing. And farmers go there and sit and eat breakfast, and there's some Hardee's around here that on a Saturday morning you can't even get in. You can't. Carl's Jr. Yeah, I guess it's. I mean, I know they're the same company. I guess they're operating the same as they do back here or close. I know they don't serve the same things because Mark can't get a steak biscuit out in Colorado, Wyoming, and they have Carl's Jr.'s out there. But people you see that, and people used to it wasn't uncommon growing up to go to the hardware store or the co-op and run into that bunch of guys standing around the barrel and bucket of nails and shooting the breeze or talking about their farm issues or their tractor problems or coyotes getting their chickens and somebody saying, oh, there ain't no such thing as coyotes in East Tennessee. And, oh, yes, there are. I saw one. I know it was. No, you saw a dog or a big fox. It turned out there was coyotes in East Tennessee. But anyway, so in some ways it's like that. I don't know. Maybe I ought to do that sometime. Maybe we ought to just do a show. Maybe I ought to just open up a screen and we can all sit around and do kind of like a Zoom call, I guess, not broadcast it. Just talk. Shoot the breeze. And maybe that's what I ought to do. Maybe that's how my Thursday night show ought to go back together. Not be a show, but be a. What do you got? What do you think of that, Carol, or anybody else that's here? We have a lot in Southern. You have a lot of which Hardee's. Yeah, I might do that, Carol. I've not thought about doing it that way. Just and maybe I should look into. I've never used Zoom because I had retired before the COVID hit, so we had not gotten into. They were starting to do meetings online at work, but we weren't using Zoom then. We were using something Microsoft has. I think now they call it Teams, but I don't know if it wasn't Teams then. Oh, Coyotes. Yeah, I bet you do. It's funny. Uh, Coyotes were not on the East Coast. They weren't in the East period until I was probably in my 20s. Well, they may have started coming across before that, but they weren't back here much. They were maybe along the periphery of East meets West, but now they're everywhere. Of course, they did figure out that there were coyotes in East Tennessee before they were in West Tennessee, which was kind of confusing until they figured out that. Come to find out, guys who like to run foxes with their dogs weren't able to find a lot of foxes there anymore for a while, so they went and got coyotes out west, brought them back here, turned them loose, ran them with their dogs, and then coyotes were everywhere. So it's a whole nother story. But that's Mark calls them bait bucket Charlie. Helping out let's help out the wildlife guys. Let's introduce some other species for them to manage, and it'll give us something else to do. I've wanted to do that on my channel for a couple of years, sit around and chat with friends, but not put it out there. Well, Carol, you and I need to talk about that. I'm not saying I'm not trying to take your channel away or anything like that. We should talk about that. Maybe that is a good idea. Let's talk about that. I don't know why that's never really crossed my mind. For some reason, I guess I always thought, I think there's always been, for me, there's always been some desire to put thoughts out in the universe like that, but that might be a good idea. Yeah, let's talk about that. I'll look into that. Let's see what the platform might be the better platform for that. If you want to. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, I like that idea. That's yeah. They were brought in to help with the deer population. Oh, really? Insurance companies wanted them because of all the. That's a funny thing, John, and that's a really good point. Insurance companies in many places have gotten involved in wildlife management or pressured agencies to get involved in doing different things because of that very issue of car accidents and deer. One of the spots I used to help manage or areas within my purview at one time at TVA was near Oak Ridge, and there was an area that had been hunted for years, open to the state to manage, and there was controlled deer hunting on it, and it was part of the well, it's part of TVA property, but it was down there. Everything used to belong to the Department of Energy. When Oak Ridge was created, when it was the secret city, they owned everything. And but there was this big area that TVA had taken over. They were going to put one of their nuke plants there in the 70s, and that never happened. And then they were thinking about putting in a couple of the mini nukes and using that site because it was already there and it was, by and large cleared for that purpose. And but so they closed off the hunting. Well, within a couple of years, and that didn't happen. That drug out, and as far as I know, still hasn't happened. But anyway, the city, because of insurance, because of accidents, started pressuring the state TWRA management to put deer hunting back out there for that very reason. And they came to us, and eventually TVA said, "Oh yeah, we're not sure when we're going to use it now, so you guys can lease it again, manage it for a while." And I hope they're still doing it because I don't think they've done any other work. I've heard rumors that they were still going back to work on that. That mini nuke thing might be going to happen, and I'm kind of encouraged about that. Um, because I know there's nuclear energy, and that may surprise you. Some people think, well, how can you be an environmental guy and you want nuclear energy? It's horrible. Um, I'm going to look for something while I talk. Bear with me. Actually, with the possible exception of 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl, of course, nuclear energy has been some of the cleanest and most, I can't say cost effective because that's still an issue, but with these mini nukes, that's become that has. Anyway, that's become more and more of a thing. And I don't know where I'm saying because the reason I got distracted was I wanted to look up a new. We've talked about um, we've talked about turbines, wind turbines. I wanted to show you something. Um, anyway, the insurance, because of the deer accidents, there were so many wrecks happening um, that they wanted to open it. And they did. They started hunting there again, and I'm sure it decreased the accident number because you get areas like that, especially in urban situations. Deer populations can just skyrocket if they're not. Once deer get adapted to people and learn to live with people, if you will, and get comfortable with that, if they're not managed in some fashion, and I know people will say, "Oh, that's not management, that's killing." That's a whole nother topic, but they can get out of hand but the fact of the matter is they interact with people whether we like it or not, even if we don't want to interact with them. And car accidents are a major thing. I remember reading something when I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, and and reading a lot of outdoor wildlife, outdoor hunting, outdoor magazines. Um, Long before I got into the business, and I can remember when there were more deer killed per year in automobile accidents in Pennsylvania than were harvested in Tennessee by all the hunters and all the seasons every year. Many more back then. Pennsylvania had a lot more deer then. Um, but Tennessee eventually got their herd recovered and they got back to that point too. And that is a real thing. And it's very expensive to the economy. Of course, it's hard on insurance companies because they have to pay out. But it's also hard on the people that have accidents. Hitting a deer in a car is no joke. They can do a lot of damage and they can hurt people really bad. Um, if they jump, which some of them do, they tend to come right through the windshield of the car and they get your attention real fast. I can't remember if it's mule deer out west or there's one of the deer species, cervid. I'm going to say that. Mark's not here to correct me. Cervid species. I can't remember which one it is. Maybe it's antelope. But their natural reaction is to jump up, and when they do, that tends to put them on the hood of a car rather than at the bumper of a car, and they tend to come right through the windshield, and they will go right through the car. And if you want to see horrible accidents, look at moose accidents. We talked about that a little bit a few weeks ago, but um, moose, because of their size, tend to cause severe damage to cars and people. And I've seen pictures of full grown moose with their head out one end of the car and their feet out the other end. I mean, they literally go completely through front windshield, back window, and they'd be hanging out on the trunk of the car. I don't know how fast the car was going, but that happens way too often, and it's bad, real bad. So hunting, and that's the first time I've heard them talk about bringing coyotes in for that reason, though. but it might help. It might do. Do you know, John, how long that's gone on? Did it make a difference that you know of? I mean, that's a natural thing. One of the reasons they think we didn't have coyotes in the East for most of our history, human history, that we know of, recorded history, even back to native times, that as we know them, was because of the red wolf. We had red wolf in the East, which is all but extinct now. And there is a hypothesis at least, that the red wolf population kept the coyotes out of the East because they fit the same predator size. Red wolves are a little bit bigger than coyotes, but they kind of fill that same niche as far as um, what they hunt and what they eat. Um, one of the things you learn when you go into this business, and other things, but in science, biology, zoology, is that pretty much everything in the natural world, it is literally a eat or be eaten cycle system. So everything is usually preyed upon by the next biggest thing. The next biggest thing gets preyed on by the next biggest, and so on and so on. And that's what keeps the world in balance, literally. A lot of people don't get that, and that's one of the reasons why hunting does play a significant role when it comes to wildlife management, because we've removed all the natural predators pretty much in this country. Bears, even though there's a lot more black bears now than there were when I was growing up, there are 10 times as many deer, if not more now than that. And bear don't eat on deer that much. Coyotes might eat, they get some now, but like I said, coyotes weren't here when I was growing up. We've removed the predator, so that lets the next species start to grow too much, and it can be. I mean, they die from disease. Trust me, they suffer a whole hell of a lot more from disease than they do from hunters. But I'm also going to tell you that there's a lot of hunters that piss me off, and I don't think they deserve to be hunting because they don't respect the game. They don't respect the species. They just, I don't know. I just think some people do it for all the wrong reasons. But that's personal. That's And there are people out there who think I'm a nut for even thinking that way. I think so. Building so many new homes doesn't. No, it doesn't, John. Deer need to find food and come into pop. They do, and once they get into populated areas, they can be cute and fun, and then they can become cute and fun, and then the next stage of that usually is a holy terror in some cases, but certainly a hazard. I mean, I have personally can say that I've just barely missed several in my life. And I had one cross the road in front of me one day on my way to work when I was on my motorcycle that I could literally reach out and swat on the ass before when it was that close to me when I got by. I just barely missed that deer. And that would have been not a fun accident. I wasn't flying, but I was doing probably 40, 45. Um, Heading in, leaning into a curve or starting to, it would have been bad. And I knew, but I mean, well, I was watching. That's probably why I missed it. That you had to be careful through that part of the highway because that's where deer crossed, and there were accidents, car accidents. I had a friend of mine hit one there. It just slid down the side of his car. It didn't hit full contact, but there were others that did. I mean, they can, like I say, they can do a lot of damage. There was a guy, I don't remember his name now, but he was in a writers group that I was involved with for years, a national club, if you will. I guess it would have been called a club. And he was traveling somewhere out west. I don't know if it was Nevada. Not sure what state it was now. It was one of those Rocky Mountain area kind of states. But it was one of those great big long stretches of highway that just kind of goes and goes and goes. and he topped a little rise. It was dusky dark, and the next thing he knew was, and he was going 70, 80 on a big open highway, and he hit a mule deer doe, cut her in two, literally cut her in two with his bike. And he was riding a motorcycle that was kind of fared in. Uh, some people would say Ricky Racer, Rocky, or Ricky Racer kind of thing. It really wasn't, but it was a touring bike. But it had a full fairing on it, and he pretty much rode right through the green mist that was created when he hit that thing, and it just went into. He was lucky. I think it cracked a windshield, may have broken a mirror, uh, but he didn't. He didn't fall. He actually managed to get stopped, but that motorcycle was packed full of whatever that deer was eating, stomach contents. Took him, by the time he got somewhere where he could actually clean the motorcycle off. Of course, a lot of it had gotten on the engine and cooked. It was really a stinky mess. But he survived it, but he was lucky. I mean, most people don't hit one and not go down. It's very hard to hit something that size. I mean, deer are almost the same size as the motorcycle. So that's bad. It can be bad. But lots of things uh, are big enough to hurt you on a motorcycle, so you have to be careful. That's the risk you take, but that's also the responsibility you take for trying to be ever vigilant. You know, Phil had a really nasty wreck, and Phil's not the kind of guy that goes fast usually. He might have been going, he was still going under 40, 45, and he hit two dogs. Two big old dogs come running out of somebody's yard and ran right smack into him. And I'm going to say this, please don't misunderstand this. Kill both dogs, which I think was probably the best thing that could have happened in that case. Um, the owner certainly didn't deserve any better outcome than that. The dogs were running loose. They weren't supposed to be. They should have been on a leash or some kind of, under some kind of control. But he was in the hospital for weeks, and um, I spent a lot of time with him at the hospital when that was going on. It broke his not femur, humerus badly, right up not too far below the shoulder. Um, had to remove his spleen, punctured his lung, I think, punctured something else down here, did some other damage, and he was months recovering. It was it was a rough accident, and his mom was in her 80s by then, and first thing she did was call me because she didn't know who else to call at that time. And wasn't any other family lived close. I think she probably called uh, Phil's sister, who eventually came down to stay with him too. She and I kind of shared that duty. Well, she was able to stay full time. I wasn't. I was working, but I was with him all night. The first night it happened, right into surgery. Anyway, um, and that was two dogs. So you got to watch it. I didn't mean to get up on that tangent. Sorry, uh, but and there are a lot of people that I would go see and feel bad about and maybe try to help out in a case like that. There are a few people that I would go to the end of the earth to help. Mark's one of those people. That's why it kills me that I'm not out there and I can't help him. And then Phil's the other one. And sorry guys, give me a moment. Damn it. Sorry about that. That hit hard. It sort of changes the tone here a moment. When Phil had his accident, like I said, I was the only one around. His mom couldn't. She was in her 80s. She couldn't go there. Um, so I went and I sat with him, and he gave me his permission slip, signed me on as his voice or whatever. Uh, Gave me permission to make decisions, and which is kind of a heavy burden, which I accepted gladly. Don't get me wrong, but it's serious stuff. And it was kind of interesting to sit there in the hall, and they literally had him out in the hall. They didn't have a room for him in the emergency room, and he was laying there under whatever care they were giving him at the time. And two surgeons show up. One is an orthopedic surgeon who's going to fix his arm. The other is the internal surgeon who's going to remove his spleen and whatever else they were going to go in and fix. And those two guys were standing there basically arguing on who gets him first. Which, as it turns out, I wish the bone doctor had gotten him first, because the big concern with his arm was it was a compound fracture. So the bone, the end of the bone sticking out through the skin. Don't mean to be crude here. Or hopefully it doesn't. If you're squeamish, turn away. But that doctor wanted it because he said the longer that bone is broken like that and exposed, it could become infected. It could make this harder. It might never heal. There was all kinds of worst case scenarios, and I'm sitting there listening to that. And then the other doctor says, "Yeah, but I need to get in there and remove this spleen. He's got bleeding," which they had. I get that, but that seemed to be kind of under control. But that guy won, if you will, and so he got Phil first, and then they went in and repaired his arm, which, as it turns out, had to be done again. A few months later, he was back in the hospital. They had to re-break that arm, or actually, I don't even know if they had to re-break it. I think it had already broken back. Didn't stick out and all that, of course, but it was, loose. The connection didn't grow back right because of that very reason. So they had to go in there and re-clean, and I don't know what they did to change that, but they went in there and fixed it, and it healed back. But just exactly what that orthopedic surgeon had said could happen, did happen. Not the worst case scenario. I mean, worst case scenario was it gets infected, it gets gangrene, you lose your arm. And that didn't happen, thank goodness. But anyway, how the hell did I get off on that? It was for a slow speed accident. It was. That's why I said, trust me, when I said the dogs died, I thought that was the best thing that could have happened. I don't usually say that about critters and dogs. You guys know how I feel about my cats, and if I had dogs, I'd be the same way with them. But and it turns out those people didn't give a rat's ass about their dogs anyway. They wouldn't have been running loose like that. They'd been warned many times. The dogs had already caused other issues, just hadn't caused a serious accident yet. And sorry, guys, I noticed something on my camera, and what did I do? I retched up there, as Brenda says, and messed with it. Anyway, guys, you know what? It's 12:37, so you guys have listened to me for several hours now, and I appreciate that. Ian, you've been here for a while, buddy. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. Carol, always good to have you in the chat. Thank you for hanging around. John, always a pleasure. Mark will be really excited to know. I didn't tell you this, John. I don't think I may have, but I'll say it again. I passed on word to, maybe I did tell you, but I passed on word for them to tell Mark that, John had been fishing and caught fish and had some stories to tell when he gets back. I'm sure he's going to want to hear about your fishing exploits, buddy. And I don't know, maybe sometime you've got time and he's up to it. Maybe we'll call and talk on the phone. maybe I can put together a 3-way call or something, and we can all talk for a few minutes. He'd really like that. I think that might really pick up his spirits if we get the chance to call as soon as he's able. Uh, and I think again, I didn't get a lot of information, but I got the impression that they were getting him to doing stuff and rehab kind of physical therapy sort of stuff, and that maybe the hope was he'd be going home soon. So I hope so. Well, thank you, Ian. I'm glad my rambling does something besides keep me company. Yeah, me too, John. So anyway, guys, um, thank you very much. As you all know, I love you very much for being here. It means a lot to me. Um, and Carol, that's such a good idea. We will talk about that and see what we can put together. I'll talk to I know Diana and Mike want to do the night, want to get more involved in the nighttime show again because they can't really be here on Saturdays right now. They've been really busy with what I would call Alexander events and things, and he's been doing a lot of stuff. I would say that James and Julie have been busy, but that's Sarah's mom and dad, and they're not in chat anyway, so that part doesn't matter. But anyway, guys, thanks for being here. I'm going to shut her down and see what my spousal unit has planned. Since she's not been up, maybe she's not got plans, but we need to go run some errands. So probably go do that. Hey, Gloria, thanks for hanging around. Trust me, if you stick around long enough, it gets better. I'm a little off my game right now. Like I said, I'm missing my co-host. Our shows are usually a little bit more organized, and we try to be a little bit more informative. Right now, I'm just filling the gap. Brenda said you could take the day off, and I said I know, but then what will I do with myself? So there you go. There you have it. I love to do the show, so I can't help it. Can't help myself. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Be safe out there, whatever you do. Don't. Even though I've been on it myself, if that step says don't go beyond this step, don't. Stay off that top step and be careful. And as I've said before, if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, we'll be back here again next Saturday. And then I'll decide what we're going to do about Thanksgiving weekend. And that may all depend. If Mark gets home and once he feels like it, I suspect that he's going to want to, get back into the show because he'll miss it. I already know that. So he looks forward to doing it too. So I will get back with you on that, and I'll let you guys know if I tell you what, if I hear anything, I will post it in my Instagram, on my Instagram site, and let you guys know, where he's at, if he's got home, how he's doing, that sort of thing. Okay, and yeah, and any Daves that are here, and the Dave that was fishing in wherever he was at, Islamorada or wherever. I'm going to get him back on the show real soon, too, to talk about what he's been up to. Anyway, see you got John. Thanks for hanging around. If you talk to your brother, tell him I said hi from over the ridge. One of these days, maybe I'll run into him somewhere here in town. Anyway, bye, guys. Take care.